Hi, everybody. It's Paula Dawn Friend here at God Said Enough. And I wanted to clarify a little bit more about myself, but more importantly, my point of view and where I'm coming from. I'm a woman of God who intentionally obeys God as a lifestyle every day. I'm healing from 60 years of narcissistic grooming and abuse. I'm 63 years old. I'm physically healing from the abuse that the medical and mental health industries created by the poison that they gave me and the fact that they protected my abusers and never once looked at the trauma. Therefore, they misdiagnosed me for over 40 years and let me live in abuse. Because had I understood what narcissism was, and had I understood that what I was surviving was indeed abuse, then I would have left a long time ago. Now, the one good thing about the narcissistic abuse and, having complex PTSD is that you really don't have any will left by the time you get to the end. You're pretty much this crushed person that doesn't understand what happened to her when you spent your whole life trying to love people that you find out really didn't ever love you. So you get to a point where you trust absolutely no one because all the people that said that they loved you, that were supposed to, like your mother and your husband and, people that are supposed to be important, when they don't love you, when the abuse is coming from them, then you learn to trust no one. And because you blew it and you missed it over and over, you end up not trusting yourself much because you missed that those were the people that were hurting you. So for me, the first miracle is that I can trust God. And I mean, I don't just trust him, I trust him with absolutely, there is not one thing that I don't trust him with. So when you finally figure out that God is the only thing that is worth living for, and that he's the only one that doesn't lie, and the only one that really does love you, then it's really easy to do his will because you don't really know who you are. But you trust that he knows who you are because he created you to be that person. So once you finally figure that part out, it's pretty easy to do his will because he's the truth. And so, if you would just take a second and look up from your situation, whatever it is, I guarantee you that whether you know him or not, he's sitting there waiting for you to ask him to help you. I guarantee it. God created Genesis. He created the earth that he created, and the man and the woman that he created. And then they made bad choices and became Adam and Eve because they allowed sin to be their choice. And so then the world became a fallen world, and man was fallen and in sin. So we were created to be with God 100% of the time, where he could just hang out with us and be with us. That was the whole plan. But little G Satan, he released sin into God's plan. He came and enticed or beguiled or basically he blew smoke up woman's ears, and she believed him because she didn't trust. She chose to be disobedient instead of obedient because pride. You know, the reason that little g Satan is down here in the first place is because of his pride. And he was so good that he chalked 300 angels, or a third of the angels to come down here and, you know, screw off with him. So imagine how ill prepared you are. They were actually in heaven and were there. Goodness. Anyway, so I have chosen to live in God's Genesis because he separated me to be there and not to be in little g Satan fallen planet. I don't want to play there because I know who God is. I don't believe it. I don't think it. I don't speculate. I don't, you know, think it sounds good. I know it because he's my father, and he's my husband, and he's my constant companion. And I know who he says I am. And that's really most important, isn't it? He says that I'm his child. He says that I'm his bride. And he says he'll never leave me. And he never has. So I am 100,000,000% obedient. I'm not perfect, you know, but I'm not out there jumping into sin. I'm obedient. And I try to make the next right choice all day. From the minute that I wake up, whether that's at 3 o'clock in the morning because I had to use the bathroom, or whether that's 5 when I get up and read the word anyway. I have a routine, and he's part of all of it. I don't leave him out of any part of my day. So in return for that, because he's the most faithful thing ever, he is 100,000,000% faithful and has provided every need that I've had since he separated me from all of the people that should be in my life right now. All of the toxicity that he erased and took away and removed me from. So, I am his and he is mine, and I am woman. I choose not to eat of little g Satan's poison. I intend to be obedient and live in God's provision, and most importantly in his love, because it's crazy and it makes no sense how much he loves me. He's real. He's more real than anything that you know. Promise. So, if you would like to settle for little g Satan and his lies, fine. You can choose to do that. And you can spout Bible sound bites and not read the whole thing and take it all out of context and live in this fallen world and ignore the sin and go about your complacent stuff. Because that's your choice to do that. But I'm not going to choose to do that. I choose to be in obedience. Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice. Well, I've sacrificed, most of my life to what the world told me I was supposed to do. And, I was convinced that if I stayed in my marriage, eventually my husband would buy a clue, but he never did, because he's a narcissist. And narcissists don't know